Ever since I had this car finished, which has been about 5 years, I've had so many people ask questions. The three most popular questions are, what is it? How fast will it go? And how much is it worth? Well, I think I can answer two of the three tonight. First of all, this is an Ardun powered 32 Roadster. Now, a lot of people think there's an Ardun engine, but there's really not. Ardun is a conversion for a Ford Flathead that was produced between 1946 and 1949. There were approximately 300 sets of heads known to be manufactured. The number does vary depending upon who you talk to. There are only probably just a handful of original Ardun heads that are currently running. Through my years, I've talked to many people that have them, but a lot of people have never used them, or they just don't feel like they can make them work. Now, I'll be honest, I've built hundreds of high-performance engines in my life, and without a doubt, this is the most complex engine I've ever worked on. And the reason I say that is because of the valve train. What you had to do with the Ardun overhead valve conversion was take out Ford's original valves, lifters, and do a little work in the valve seat area where the push rod would now come through and actually operate the valves. Now, obviously, this engine looks a lot like a Hemi. Everybody says, is that a Chrysler Hemi? Well, it's not. It obviously was designed before the Chrysler Hemi came out. And actually, if you really took a good look at it, you can see the similarities. And in fact, Chrysler did such a good job of copying this engine that you can actually take a Chrysler intake manifold and 6 out of the 8 holes on each side of the intake will line up with the cylinder heads. Rumor has it that they actually had one of these engines sitting next to the design bench when they were doing the blueprints for the first Chrysler engine. This particular engine I've set up with a supercharger and also run a real magneto on the car. And where I did kind of lose the real nostalgic flair is instead of having a mechanical Hillborn fuel injection, I have gone ahead and made it electronic. So you'll be able to take a look at the blower and the fuel injection. While in California, I visited Art Chrisman, legendary drag racer. Art is heavily into reproduction Arduns made by Don Ferguson. He actually created one 471 intake manifold, and this is it. I was in his shop and I asked him if he had a 471 intake. He says, this is the one. And because mostly what he does is a 671 blower, I opted to take this one 471. A lot of people say, why use such a new blower? Well, that's not really true either. GMC blowers have been around since 1939. So it definitely fits the period of this car. And GMC blowers are still one of the most efficient in their design, especially created in that era. Also notice the magneto, it's a Joe Hunt, and did that for nostalgia, but it also works. Now again, where I said earlier I took a few liberties, I've taken a Hillborn 2-port fuel injection, made it electronic. There are 4 injectors in one barrel, and the other barrel serves as the throttle body. Now I know what you're thinking. Most people are going to say, where's all the wiring at? Well, it's all concealed inside the hoses. So what we've got is a good functioning, fairly easy to start vehicle that does make it drivable. This car's been together for about 5 years and has a little over 2,000 miles on it. I start this thing a little bit like a World War II fighter. What I do is I fuel it up first and then I turn on the magnetos. So the first thing I'm going to do is kill the magnetos, crank it a little bit. test drive, hopefully you got to see some boost and hear a little action going on there. Boost gauge mounted right here, and an array of Stewart Warner gauges up on the dash just to keep me apprised of what's going on with the old Ardun. Hopefully you enjoyed your little ride. I know I always do. Now, at least you might have a little bit of an idea what a Ford conversion Ardun cylinder head and its appropriate parts can do. Thanks a lot.